Hi, and welcome back. My name is Johan, and we're doing DataFlex application development here in these videos. Um, Today, we're on the third episode of a amCharts implementation and component implementation in DataFlex. And we have done the component, that was the first video. We have implemented our own data into the graph. That was the second video. And in this third and last video, we're going to click on a tile in the graph and have an event sent back to the server. And that's where we're starting today. And let's see. Now we have these things here. You can click on them, something happens, but there is not really anything in the JavaScript that tells us where these things happen. And so what we want to do is, if we want some kind of function, slice click, for instance, that takes a count and just sends that back to the server. But in order to do that, we need to make sure that these PySeries actually have an event that can call upon the our function here. So in here, in this render function, we can actually add a PySeries dot slices dot template dot events on hit function event, and then this. So we have the object as well, and that should be it. Here we can do a console.log and the event, because I spelled it wrong, and let's press Shift FM. Again, you can see that we have the JSON S data from the last video. But if I now click here, this is actually creating an event, and we can see that we have a target, and we have a bunch of data here. And I actually went through and found that there's a data item in here that we can look at. The data item. And in the data item, there is a data context, which is an object, and in there we have the count and the category. And we're interested in the count. So if you look at holidays, it says 4 up in the pop up there. So what we want to do now is that up, but var count equals ev dot, we had the target, and we have a data item, and we have data context and the count. So that's our count. And then if we call this dot slice click, with the parameter count, we should actually be able to recognize that console.log count. So we should have it down here. Let's reload this, clear out the. So now when I click here, I get the values of those. And now we want to send this back to the server. And the way you do that is this server action. Let's call that slice. And that takes an array of strings. So we have count, to string, and that should send the item back to our pie chart class, where we now need to implement a slice click procedure. So down here, we want a procedure slice click. And it should take a string is count, which in this case contains a number. And we want this to be an event that we can implement in our statistics code. So we would like to go in here and say kind of on slice click. So we're going to send on received click integer is count. So we're doing a typecast back to an integer here. And then we have to make this on received click procedure. And that is going to be a method type event. And this takes the integer I count. And that's it. Now we want to go back into our procedure here, and it should recognize that we have a on click. And I also want to add another thing here as well, a web form. C web form. There. So I'm going to add a web form and call it category something like that. And we might not need to have it that wide actually, because it's just going to count some values. And we call this web category. So here in our pie charts, we can say procedure on received click I count. Take the integer I sum, and we do a web get value of category sum to our ISUM So this is the original sum, and then we're going to do a group find sum. That's I count. Sum. And then we do the same again, but in this time we do it set instead of a get. So that should update this. So when we now click, we should get the counter back and update this one. So let's have a look and see if that works. So now I click here. Slice click is not published. Okay, yep. In the JavaScript. No. Yeah. We also need to publish this slice click here so we can access it from the client. And the way we do that is in our end constructor. When we're done, we do a web publish procedure, slice click. And now if we run, we should be able to click on a slice and we get the number, and we click on a new slice and it summarizes. But if I remove, it will just keep adding. So we need to figure out if this one is active or not. So it's a slight update to the JavaScript. Let's go in here, and instead of just sending the count, we want to check in here. If device is active, no, we actually want to get a hold of a slice. And it can be found in evtarget.slice. And if the slice is active, is undefined, then slice is active equals false. And then we can just check or update the slice is active equals not slice dot is active. And before we send the count, we check if slice or rather, if not slice is active, then count equals minus count. There you go. And if we now go in and refresh this, we should be able to add and remove. So now if we add some of those, we can remove, we can add that one, that one. So now we have a completely interactive graph with some feature that can update when we click on the graph. And if you want me to dive any deeper or perhaps look at some other graphs and do similar things, please put it in the comments below. Otherwise, I hope you've enjoyed this mini series on graphs and charts, and I'll have to figure out something for next week. See you then. Bye bye.